welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rieta.
And I'm Connie. And today we have a special episode for you all. We have a returning guest, James Scott. Drum roll, please. Remember to insert that, Rieta. So, James, what's up? How's it going?
It's going well. It's been a bit of a time over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, finally starting to find our feet again, I think.
Oh, that's good. Before we jump into all the seriousness, how is the podcast Sports Network, across the pond really is what it is, Sports Network going? Anything new?
Yeah, I think we've grown quite a lot since the last time I was on. When was I on? March? April?
That's a good question.
Should probably look that
Yeah,
up.
it was like the beginning of this year.
Yeah, I think it was like March. I think you're about right on February, March, somewhere in there.
So we now have 7 podcasts across our sports network, covering everything from the NBA, NFL, NHL, WNBA, and we recently launched a golf podcast as well, which has been really popular. So yeah, we've grown, and I think I had a goal at the start of the year that we'd have 7, and we have 7. So we kind of met that goal, and there are plans for more. So yeah,
good for you.
We're going to move into soccer, but women's soccer next year, because that season's just about to finish. So there's no point in starting a podcast now. But for next season, we'll be covering women's soccer. Pro wrestling has been brought up a few times. And to be honest, people come to me sometimes and be like, oh, you ever thought about doing this? And, you know, as long as we can find the right people to do it, then we'll do it, because obviously I don't host all 7 shows myself. That'd just be crazy.
Oh, come on, no fun. Host them all.
Have to put them all together.
Yeah, we can barely keep one together, so 7. That's very impressive.
You know, I was thinking about that last night. I was like, maybe we should become a podcast network, and then I was like, nope. I was like, we could barely handle what we have now. It's fine. And I also could not think of anything that would go together. Like, yours is naturally evolving. You know, you're trying to cover all of the sports. And where I'm like, well, what do you do after How to Deal When Shit Gets Real? I mean, where can you go next? It's too high of a bar already.
Yeah.
It's definitely a high bar. But it's like the golf one. The golf one came along, and it's literally people come and they're like, I love the concept of across the pond. Have you thought about doing golf? And this guy, Logan, is on Clubhouse, and he said that. It's like, well, yeah. He said, oh, if you ever want to do a golf episode, I'll do one. And I turned around as a joke and said, well, why don't we just do a podcast? Give it its own. And he was like, yeah, okay then. And like from there we found Sinead, and then we got Sinead and Logan together, and yeah, it was born.
That's amazing. I'll have to tell my husband. He's actually at the driving range right now. So they've got golf now, hon.
I apparently have a cousin, although I do not know this cousin very well, that is like one rank below the professional golfers. And he is like, or he was in a series to get you to the top rank. I don't know how golf works. I just know that he's like right below, and he's trying to win entrance into being like the top golfers or whatever, however that works. Don't ask me. I don't know anything about golf. Okay, guys.
Well, you should definitely get them in touch with us, because
I'll see what I can do, because it's very like cousin removed. It's on my dad's side of the family. We don't talk very much. I don't really know him very well, but I think I have him on maybe Facebook, so I'll have to go look.
We're going to have to eventually add MMA in there too. I think that'd be cool. I'd be down for an MMA podcast.
That's come up a couple of times. You can do that
one. You can tell them what's up with that one.
Yeah, see, there you go. You've got your second podcast already.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. So we had James back on because it was just kind of a whole mix of fate. He said stuff was happening and we happened to have it cancel. So it was just like the world's aligned for us because he's got something going on with his little guy, Carter. So tell us what's going on with poor Mr. Carter.
Carter is autistic. And I think I mentioned this before when I was on. And so our 2 oldest sons are both autistic. One is kind of high functioning. He kind of gets himself around. But our middle son, Carter, He is nonverbal. And he kind of lives in his own little bubble most of the time, which is absolutely fine. Because he lives in that little bubble, sometimes it's not that you don't forget he's there. You can't forget he's there because he knows where the iPad volume button is. It usually gets turned and ramped right up. But one thing that we've never had an issue with really is his health. His health is usually, if he gets a cold, he gets it bad. If he, picks up a bug, he gets it bad. And, he's fine after a couple of days. But a couple of weeks ago, we're kind of getting ready to move house. And, the house is getting packed up and we're getting, the stress of moving house is not fun. I think getting married was easier. So, so we were kind of all packed up, getting ready to move. This was the Monday. I'd taken the Monday off work because I was like, I'm going to, have some time, get some last stuff packed, go to work for a couple of days, get out my wife's hair because I just tend to get in the way. And then from there, Thursday, Friday, we'll move house and we'll be fine. Everything will be fine. So we're sitting there Monday. I'm sitting there in my shorts and t-shirt, much like I am just now. I was like, this is a great day. It's 9:30 in the morning. I'm playing with our other son, Cooper, our youngest. And I looked over at the table and he's been running around and he'd kind of cuddled in on the couch and stuff. And then he'd ran over to our kitchen table and he's sitting up there with his iPad. And I looked over him and I was like, whoa, he looks really white, like really white. And I was like, something not right there. And just as I stood up, he projectile vomited across the table. And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, oh, no. And the first thing I thought of, oh, man, he's got a sick bug. This is not good. This is not great timing for a sick bug. And I'm picking him up. And as I pick him up, usually when he gets picked up, he goes very rigid. And just so it's easier to get lifted. He didn't. He felt very floppy. I tried to stand him up so he wasn't like sitting in his puke. He wouldn't stand. He just like almost collapsed to the floor. And I was like, wow, that's really weird. And I'm talking to him and trying to make eye contact. And because of the autism, he doesn't always make eye contact. Probably the most he does is with me and my wife, but he wasn't making any. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I said to my youngest, I said, go and get mum because like I can't deal with puke. I
feel you on that. I can't either.
I just want to hurl. And so she came down and she's like, all right, let's get him up to the shower and stuff. And we're talking and he's not really making any kind of noise or anything, but we were kind of like, right, let's get him up. So my wife kind of chucked him in the shower, got him ready. And I lifted him out and we took him through the bedroom to get dressed, get changed. And we were like, oh, and the two of us are kind of like, oh, well, sick bug, he's white as a sheet and all this kind of stuff. And then my wife's like, oh, he's shaking a lot, but he's actually quite warm. I was like, that's kind of weird. And I was trying to talk to him and I was like, kind of not right in his face, but I was like kind of down at his level and I was trying to talk to him and he was still really floppy, like really floppy. I like lifted his arm and kind of let it go and it just like dropped to the bed. And I was like, something's not right. And at that point, I'll be perfectly honest, I absolutely froze. And I was like, right, you know what we'll do? We'll just phone the doctor. We'll phone the doctor's surgery. Now, doctor surgeries in the UK of late haven't been that great because of COVID and stuff. So they tend to defer you to like a hospital or something for everything. So I phoned them up and the woman said, oh, well, I'll get a doctor to phone you back. I was like, well, that's not really that great now because there's something wrong with my little boy and I'm really not entirely sure what it is, but he's not responding to us. He's there. It's almost as if like the lights were on, but nobody was home. Like his eyes were just like not there. And at this point, his eyes actually rolled back and were like pointing off to the side. And we were like, okay. And he was not responding to us at all. And like, even if you like pinched him and stuff, nothing, absolutely no response. Goodness. So at that point, I really froze and I had absolutely no idea what to do. And my wife's like, should we phone? Like, we have a service in the UK called 111 where you basically phone it and you get like a medical professional, and they kind of talk you through what, you've stubbed your toe or something. So we phoned them, and it was a 3-hour wait to get through
Oh,
to someone.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, all right, we won't wait for that then. And
yeah.
and like me and my wife were talking, and like this all happened very quickly, and I was kind of like, so what should we do? Because like we were both kind of concerned that like we're getting nothing out of them.
Yeah.
And my
Do you
wife's
guys
like,
have 911? If you call a number, an
Yeah.
ambulance will come? Okay.
yeah. So that was like the next thing. My wife was like, you're just gonna have to phone an ambulance. You just have to, like,
Yeah.
we can't wait. And I was like, okay. And I was like, you sure? And I was like, because you know, if you have that doubt, like you're going to phone them out and it's going to be for like he's got wind or something. And I was like, right, okay, fuck it. Let's just phone the ambulance. So dialed 999, got this woman on the phone, and she's like, right, okay, kind of explain what happened. And she was like, right, okay. So it sounds like he's having a seizure. And like at that point, I was like, my stomach just bottomed out. My wife, Rachel, burst into tears. And I was like, oh, shit. And she was like, right, kind of put him in the recovery position on his side, make sure there's nothing near him. So he can't, like, if he convulses or anything, he can't hit himself or hurt himself. So I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. At this point, like, he's really cold. That shaking that we thought because he was cold wasn't shaking at all. It was like twitching from the seizure. I was like, oh man, like how have I missed all this? Like I've never dealt with a seizure before, which is probably why. But I was like, but the woman on the phone, like she was really calm, and my wife was crying in the back because she was just like, what's going on? The woman on the phone goes, what noise is he making? And I was like, that's not him, that's my wife. And she was like, all right. And she was like, oh, well, you're doing really well. You're doing really well. So she was really kind of reassuring and stuff as well. And she's like, the ambulance is on its way, don't worry. And at this point, I'd picked Carter up and I had him in my arms, kind of on my knee. And I'm just like trying to talk to him, and he's still seizing. I can still kind of feel that movement. Sorry, the woman on the phone is just like talking away. Is he still seizing? Is he still seizing? I was like, yeah, he's still going. So he was going for a good while. And then the ambulance, you could hear the sirens, and the ambulance turned up. Usually I always, and this is probably me just being naive because of TV and stuff, but I always thought like when the ambulance crew come in, they take the patient and they like work on them. I was like getting ready to hand him over to them. And like, no, you just sit with them. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm sitting with him. They're kind of giving him oxygen. His oxygen levels were really low. And like they're doing all their wee kind of checks and stuff that they do. He was still seizing. And they were like, right, we're going to call for backup. We're going to call for another ambulance.
Oh my goodness.
They've got this like special drug that will kind of knock the seizure out and kind of stop him seizing. So I was like, well, that makes sense. Don't know why you've not got it, but okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's exactly
yeah.
what I was thinking. Why don't they have it?
Yeah, why wouldn't they all have it? That doesn't make sense. How old is Carter again?
So Carter's, well, actually, his birthday was yesterday. So he's now 6.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday, Carter.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it because I've got this Edinburgh Castle behind me, but there's a Mickey Mouse balloon behind me. It's pretty huge. But, he's seizing, and like the ambulance guys, obviously, he was getting quite kind of concerned, and he's like, right, we've called for this backup, but what we're going to do is we're going to just get you into the ambulance because he's going to have to go to the hospital.
Right.
So I stood up, and again I went to hand him over. Oh no, you just carry him down if that's okay. And I was like, right, okay. So carry him downstairs. And obviously at this point it's October, it's Scotland, so it's pissing down with rain and it's cold. And I had shorts and a t-shirt on. I hadn't even realized until I walked outside and my feet were soaking because I had bare feet. And I just ran into the ambulance with them. Jumped up on the bed gurney thing, and then the other paramedic turned up, and she was like, right, okay. She kind of looked him over and stuff, and she's like, right, let's just get to the hospital. I'm going to I'll leave my ambulance here. I'll just come with you, and you guys can drop me off later. Literally, we live about a 20-minute drive from the hospital, and I literally think we got there in 2 minutes. Like,
Wow.
because obviously they just put the sirens on, but
Yeah, they hauled ass.
yeah, they hauled ass. And then the ambulance, he kind of stopped seizing for a bit. And then it was just all of a sudden, just as we were pulling up to the hospital, he just went full kind of seizure. And like his legs were solid and his toes were pointing up the way and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I think he's doing it again. And again, they went for the injection thing that would cut it out. But they were like, well, we're here, so we'll just get him. What we're going to do, because they'd strapped me to the gurney and I was holding him. So they were like,
Well,
we'll
that's
just take him off you and we'll just run in with him. So they literally just like lifted him off of me and ran in. And my wife had kind of thrown a bag together with some shoes.
I was going to say, did your wife bring shoes? I was like, are you shoeless the whole time in the hospital? Because that's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just me in the ambulance. And my wife had stayed at home with the other two boys because they were getting quite upset by the whole thing.
Oh, no.
Like,
yeah.
especially Logan, because Logan is also autistic. So he doesn't always show his feelings, but then when he does, like
It's a hurricane.
Yeah. I was going to say outburst, but hurricane's probably better. But he was kind of at home and stuff. And obviously they took him in. I got myself kind of fixed, put my trainers on, jumped out the ambulance. And of course, the first thing they say, have you got your face mask with you? I'm like, no, I don't have a freaking face mask with me. I've just ran out of my house.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
What did you expect, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can
chuck
you
the face
give me
mask
one?
on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Exactly. So chucked the face mask on and went in. And what's scary, and I think TV is bad for this, is I went in and like all these doctors and nurses are working on him. I was just, it felt like I was a fly on the wall. Like it felt like I was there, but I wasn't really there.
It was like you were watching an episode of ER.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of like, what do I do? Like I'm just kind of standing here like a dick just at the corner. Like the doctors started talking to me and like they ask all their questions and like how old is he, how much does he weigh, which I have no idea how much he weighs, and all this kind of stuff, because obviously they're trying to like work out how much of the drug to give him and all this kind of stuff. They gave him the drug eventually, straight away, like the seizure stopped and he just kind of went to sleep.
Poor baby.
Which freaked me out because like it happened almost instantly and I was like, oh crap, is he okay? And they were like, yeah, he's fine. He's now just resting.
His poor little body was probably exhausted.
Well, this is the funny thing. Well, it's not really that funny, but this is a serious thing. Like the nurse had come back to do some checks on him. She basically said that having a seizure is like running a full 26-mile marathon, like for your body.
Wow.
So yeah, you can be pretty tired after having a seizure. And because his had been like an hour and a half, like from start to finish, because he started puking at like 9:30 in the morning. And they said that was when the seizure started. That was like the first sign of it. Kind of, it's like this, the body kind of emptying itself to have the seizure. And then obviously he didn't get the drug until nearly 11 o'clock. And by the time ambulance came, picked up and kind of got there. So yeah, it was a long seizure episode is what they called it. And he kind of lay there in the bed. And like usually when you see your kid sleeping, you know, it's like, oh, he's sleeping, it's nice.
Yeah.
But this was obviously, it's just very different. And, you know, there's nurses coming in and out every kind of 2 minutes, kind of checking him. He was at this point shivering because he was cold. But again, that's down to between the medicine and the actual seizure being knackered from having that seizure. And then the doctor had to, because of the drug that they use, it can also slow down your lungs. So like the doctor was like massaging his chest, not like a CPR or anything, but almost like massaging his chest to keep his lungs kind of going. And I was like, okay, that seems quite quite dangerous to give him something like that.
Yeah, I guess that's why they waited for so long and they kept putting it off. Like, oh, let's not.
I think the hope was, from their perspective, that the seizure would stop naturally. I think
Yeah.
that was probably their hope. But yeah, and in the end, they decided, best just actually give him it and get this thing stopped. So because it'd been so long.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of just sitting there by his side, like absolutely helpless, don't know what to do, don't know where to go. And then to be fair, the paramedics came back in and they were kind of like, oh, how's he doing and all this kind of stuff. And they were really nice. I mean, that's the thing, like the paramedics, the woman on the phone, whose name I totally can't remember, were so good, like so nice, so reassuring, very calm, which I never really thought about it in that kind of job that they would need to be calm. But yeah, because I think if I was a paramedic, I'd be running around like a headless chicken. But yeah, and I think that helped. Like it helped a lot, certainly for my wife and for me. So,
and the worst thing about the seizure is, as a parent, all you can do is sit by and watch, because unlike some of like the earlier like ER or whatever, they used to like touch a seizure patient, and now it's like, no, you don't touch them. You make sure that there's nothing in their way, and there's nothing you can do. Other things that go wrong with kids, like when they get sick, there's medicine, there's things you can do, you can make them feel better, but you're kind of just helpless at.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think that was a scary thing. Like I've been through loads of health stuff when I was a kid and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I've always been thankful for is my kids have never really went there, although obviously Logan and Cara both have autism. Health-wise, they're actually okay. Like they're pretty healthy. So that was, yeah. So this was like really apart from the odd broken bone and stuff that kids have, this was the first kind of really serious kind of thing where we needed an ambulance. So that in itself was scary, because like I'm sitting in the ambulance and it's like the sirens are going and like I could feel the speed bumps as we flew over them, because like he had the foot to the floor. But then you go from that to sitting in the hospital, and yeah, you're just kind of sitting there. And he slept for 6 hours after it, and like I knew instantly that he was fine when he woke up, because when he woke up, Carter as a kid, he does not like things on him. Like he doesn't even like clothes on him. Like he will walk around the house in a t-shirt or a vest with a nappy and no trousers, no socks, no shoes, nothing. That's how he likes to be. So when he woke up and he had these heart monitors on him and he had the thing on his toe for his oxygen and he had a cannula in as well. So he's like, straight away when he woke up,
he's like, no, thank you.
That's coming off. That's coming off. And these things are stuck down, like, and he's just like ripping them off. So as he's ripping them off, obviously the alarms are going off on the screen. So the nurse comes running in. She's like, oh, what's happened? And I was like, oh no, he just doesn't want this stuff on him. Like he just wants it gone. And he got rid of it all. And then he went for the cannula, but obviously that's like in his arm. So I ended up like bandaging it up so he couldn't get to it. But he was really confused. And
I bet he was.
He was still so tired, like so tired. And
poor baby.
But like instantly when he woke up, I could tell, like going from that state where it was like the lights are on but nobody's home, to being in the hospital, and he's kind of come to, and his eyes are open and he's looked at me. Straight away you can tell like he's back. And then obviously once he kind of sat up and started taking everything off, I was kind of like, yeah, he is definitely back to normal, thankfully. But that was like a good 6 hours sleep he had as well. So
well, at least you saw him come back to normal. And I almost feel like that must be kind of normal with autistic kids, because I babysit my girlfriend's son sometimes, and he's the same way. He has like a t-shirt on and just like underpants and like nothing else. Like he doesn't want socks or shoes or like anything. He's like the exact same.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of parents that have said the same. Like their kid just doesn't want. They will wear a t-shirt happily, but in terms of trousers, socks, shoes, like unless they're out.
Yeah, she says the moment he comes home from school, they're gone.
Yeah, he's exactly the same. He comes home
Yeah.
from school, he'll go through the kitchen, he'll come back through the living room, the shoes will come off, the socks will come off, the trousers will come off, and the iPad will go on. And that's
then
kind
it's
of his routine.
freedom.
Pretty much. So yeah.
Do you have, I mean, I know this is probably not something you were thinking about because you were just trying to go through the motions, but do you have anything that you can tell us or tell parents of like that they can do when a seizure occurs? Obviously, I know we said you make the space and anything, but there's anything else that you can tell us?
So I think that the important thing that they had said to us was make the space. Don't restrict them in any way. Just kind of let them be free. If they do kind of convulse in quite a violent way, which people can do, they've got the space to do that. And something that the hospital are arranging for me and my wife is the medication that they gave him in the hospital can actually be sent home with you.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. So what they say is that if they have a seizure and it lasts more than 5 minutes, you administer the drug yourself and then phone the ambulance. So you don't phone the ambulance first, you phone the ambulance afterwards. And then they'll pick him up and take him. So that was something I didn't know that happened. Like I knew the whole EpiPen with like people with peanuts and stuff.
Yeah,
right.
But I didn't realize like that you could do something with seizures as well as a person, not as like a trained professional.
Well, I thought that they did have, but maybe he's too young. I thought that they had like anti-seizure medication, like a pill that you take every day. But I wonder if like he's too young and they don't want him to take that, at this time.
Yeah.
Or maybe they need to figure out why first, like why it's happening.
Well, this is the thing. Like they said, this could be a one-off, or this could be like something that, we just have to kind of get used to now. And at this stage, he's not had any tests or anything done because the seizure was so long. They basically wanted to send him home. So he stayed in the hospital overnight, kind of got monitored and checked and stuff, and then was sent home. And that was really just to get him back to normality more than anything else.
Will there be any more tests or anything like that?
Yeah, so there'll be probably an MRI, and they do this kind of brain mapping thing in EEG. So they're going to do that. The issue is, though, obviously he's autistic and he doesn't like things on him.
I was just going to say, an MRI with a nonverbal 6, even if he was just 6, an MRI with a 6-year-old would be a challenge. But add in the nonverbal on the autistic side of it, you're challenging things.
Because I do believe for an MRI, you're supposed to be conscious, first of all, and completely still. And there's no way those two things are going to converge for an autistic or even just a 6-year-old in general. Being completely still. Yeah.
No.
I don't even think my 9-year-old would stay still.
Well, I get shouted at. I go for an MRI every year and I get shouted at because I'm like, I fall asleep. Like I actually fall asleep in them.
Yeah. And you're supposed to be awake so that they can actually map your brain, right?
Yeah, but I usually just pass out because it's boring. But
good for you, man.
Get some shut eye. It's like the only place that's quiet. But Carter got home. Like I say, I mean, he seemed normal for him. Obviously, me and Rachel, my wife, have kind of been watching him like a hawk.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like he went back to school and all this kind of stuff, and then. It's really weird because we had this conversation where I was going to come on over the last couple of days. His older brother, Logan, got like a sick bug, started throwing up. And I was like,
no.
You're like, no,
it was just a sick bug. Yeah.
But I bet you brought back a little bit of PTSD though.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit.
Well, this is the thing. So that happened the other night. And then last night, Carter was sick. And like me and my wife, like instantly were just like, oh, not again. Like, because for Logan,
please no, yeah,
yeah, but for Carter to be sick, I was like, oh no. So yeah, so he was sick on his birthday, which wasn't
Oh
great,
no.
Aw.
and yeah, he's just kind of been at home in bed pretty much. So he has been pretty still for the last couple of days, but yeah, it's been a tough time for him.
Oh yeah.
And that whole kind of having a seizures equivalent of running a marathon kind of thing.
Yeah.
I I'd never ever looked into seizures, never had one, never been around anyone that has. So it was a very stressful new experience.
Yeah, me either. I wouldn't know what to do either.
So how did moving end up working with all this like seizure activity? Was that even like another level of difficulty? Because you're trying to he had his seizure and you're trying to move.
Or did you
Well,
postpone?
Yeah.
no, we still moved on time. It was more stressful because we basically had 2 days where we hadn't packed anything. I phoned
It's
my
a rush
boss.
to just, throw
Yeah,
stuff
just
on the truck.
throw stuff on the truck, it'll be fine.
It'll get there.
But I'll get there,
It's
bit battered
fine.
and bruised. But I phoned my boss up and kind of explained the situation. And my boss was like, "Well, don't even worry about work. Just, phone me in a couple of days." And then I got a phone call from the guys I work with. They were like, "Oh, James, you know what? Obviously, like you've been through a lot the last couple of days and you're moving, your wife's stressed. We're just going to rent a van. We're going to come down to the house and we'll just move you the Thursday
Aw.
night."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Because we were moving on a Friday. Everyone was working. So like we were just going to move ourselves. But I kind of like, well, I've already paid for a van. Like I already have a van and I'm picking up on Thursday night because I wanted to have it for the full day Friday. They were like, right, cool. You've got the van. That's fine. We'll just come and just like move everything. So like 5 or 6 of them turned up. Yeah, they literally just kind of, and these are big guys. So we're all engineers. I mean, I'm the smallest, but like these are big guys. And some used to be in the Air Force, some used to be in the Army, some were bus drivers.
They were
So
they're all getting it done for you.
yeah, they just came in and like, it was one guy, Big Sai. He's huge, and he just lifted this fridge, and just like I lifted the other end, and he just dragged me out to the van with the fridge. But yeah, and you know what? It was actually quite good. It was quite therapeutic as well because I was kept busy.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really thinking of other things, and you're kind of having a laugh doing it and kind of getting moved. So yeah, we did get moved on time, and we had some kind of unexpected help, which was very much appreciated. So the move ended up not being quite as stressful as it could have been.
Well, that's good. See, it was a blessing in disguise in a crazy way that you had, your coworkers that are like, "We've got your back. We're coming."
Yeah, it was very much like that. And yeah, it was very much appreciated because I think in hindsight now, like trying to move all of our stuff in that one night and full day, just myself and a couple of mates who came around on Friday would have been too much for us, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot to do.
I said for the next time that we moved that we were hiring a moving company and I don't care. I was like, there are going to be people and they're going to move all of the big stuff. Like I am not.
That's one thing that we're blessed with in the military because we're actually getting ready to move from Hawaii all the way to the East Coast, which is quite a move. But they pack it all for us, which is amazing. So.
Well, you're moving from Hawaii. That's got to be gutting.
I know, right? Everyone else is like, that's so sad. You're moving from Hawaii. And Rihanna's like, yes, bring me to the East Coast, closer to family.
I mean, we'll miss it, of course, but, we're ready for some seasons and we bought a house. So it's all good things.
Nah, I think I'd still take the beaches in Hawaii.
I know. I am totally the same way. I'm like, you're crazy. I wish you were going to stay there longer. I'd come and visit again.
We'll just have to come back, We'll just have to come back on an actual vacation.
Yeah, really. Go to one of the other islands.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't really get to go see any of the other islands.
No, COVID kind of ruined that, but that's all right. Can't complain. We've had a good life here. So do the doctors have any possible idea what could be going on with Carter, or is the only way they're going to find out is if they can get these tests done?
Yeah, so pretty much it's the tests need to get done. They said, like I said, they say it could be like a one-off thing, or
Right.
it could be something like epilepsy. Epilepsy
Mhm.
is apparently quite common in kids with autism, so it could be something that he kind of has to live with. Obviously, we're hoping
One
for it
off.
just being a one-time deal, but
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I guess once they do their tests eventually, because my wife did take him in to the hospital for the EEG where they do the kind of brain mapping thing. But obviously that thing was going nowhere near his head. He doesn't even wear a baseball cap, so he wasn't going to put like that on his head.
Yeah. He wasn't
So
all about that.
no, and he is, like I said before, like he is in his own bubble, and if you interrupt him while he's there, you're just going to get pushed away and shoved away. So he doesn't like intruders.
Do you have any plan to help him get the tests, or like do the doctors like, oh, we deal with this all the time here, I think we know how to do this, or like help him cope with it? I don't know. Is there anything like that?
So I think the only thing that we said is that you wouldn't put him to sleep, but you'd maybe like sedate him so he's drowsy, so he
Mm,
can't kind of move around. So he's basically just going to lie there, awake-ish, but
as
just
much
so
as
he's
he
not
can
actually
be.
asleep. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we'd said that from like the outset when they were talking about doing these tests. We said, well, you do realize like you're gonna have to do something because he's not gonna sit, he's not gonna lie, he's not gonna
Right.
let you put stuff on his head. I mean,
Yeah.
you, like I kind of said, like you know what it was like in his hospital room. As soon as he woke up, those leads got pulled off. The
Yeah.
cannula was getting pulled out his arm. Like he just didn't care. He just didn't
Yeah.
want that stuff on him.
He just wanted
Yep.
it off and he didn't care how it came off.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll
just how
get
we
it all
feel.
done.
Yeah.
They'll get it done. They'll get it
Yeah.
done eventually. It's just going to take some time. But I
Mhm.
think with everything that we've had going on, moving home and everything else, I think it's probably just going to take some time to get stuff done.
It's another good question. How did the boys like their new home after all of that like chaos?
Well, Logan is exceptionally happy because he has his own room. And to be fair, like he's 11 and Carter is 6 and Cooper is 4. So yeah, he's a bit older than those two. So he needed his own space.
I
So
was
he's
gonna
got his own
say.
room. The two youngest are sharing. Cooper loves his new house. He absolutely loves it. So much
Aw.
more room. And to be fair, Carter, like, and this is the thing about Carter. Carter is all about routine. As soon as he went to like the kitchen where the dinner table is, like he picked his spot straight away. And that's where he sits. And no one else can sit there. And that was him. He was settled. The same with the living room. He came into the living room, picked his spot. That's his spot.
And that's it.
And that's it. And like so straight away, like he got into a routine. And then obviously the issues were school. School was the issue because basically we were going from living in Edinburgh, which is a big city, to a little kind of not a village, but maybe like a town just outside the city.
Suburb.
Yeah, what we
like
would call a suburb. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so we went from big city to suburb. It's very different way of living. Schools are different, and different people run those schools. And in actual fact, autism in Edinburgh City, and the way that the council or local authority deal with it is terrible. And we've fought them for years, and like fought them to get Logan into like a proper language unit for support and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And we had the same issue with Carter last year. The council in Edinburgh, like, one size fits all. Every kid does what we say, and we don't really care.
Yeah, I
And
remember
then
you saying that on the last episode because he still wears diapers or nappies, and so he
Yeah.
doesn't really fit that. So I remember you kind of hinting at that before being a problem.
Yeah, and then like he was coming home from school, and they hadn't changed him, and
Oh
stuff
no.
like that. So
No.
because we were moving, we were just like, let's just not deal with it. Let's just get him moved to his new school. So a month before we moved, we phoned up the new kind of council that we were moving into called Midlothian and explained that we're moving, 2 kids with autism needing to go to school. We actually have left Logan at his old school, so he travels a wee bit because it's his last year there before he goes to high school. So we've just kind of left him there. But for Carter, we really wanted to get him somewhere a lot better and a lot more kind of where he needs to be. And oh my God, like the way that they handled it within 3 weeks, it was fixed. And he's going to go to like a language unit. It's going to be specialized for kids with autism. Instead of having 25 kids in the class, there's going to be him and 3 other kids.
Wow, there you go.
They're going to have loads of support. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, why couldn't we get this from Edinburgh City Council now? Edinburgh is obviously a city and they've got a lot more kids to deal with and all the rest of it. But I was just like, why is it just so much easier? I mean, my wife Brianna both agreed. Why didn't we move out here before?
I was just going to say that. You're probably thinking like, hey, why didn't we get out here sooner? And it's kind of funny. You said it was called Midlothian. That was one of the first towns I lived in. My parents, when I was born, lived in Midlothian.
Yeah, well, this is like the council area. It's called Midlothian, and we live in a town called Newton Grange. So it's kind of like our county would be called Midlothian. So, but it's a nice place, and we've got a bigger house. So.
You would think the city would actually be better at it because they do see more kids and they would have a better system. But either way, glad that you found a better spot for Carter.
That's why everyone moves to the burbs. The schools, it's like literally once you start having kids, you got to move to the burbs. It's what everybody always says around here anyway.
So with him being nonverbal, how does he communicate with you? Like, does he have his own special way of communicating with you? Do you have one of those? I don't know what they're called, but I know my girlfriend uses it with her son, like a special device that he can like type into.
So you can get devices and stuff, but he doesn't really care for them. So usually it's eye contact, or usually he'll just come up and he'll just take you by the hand and he'll kind of walk you to what he wants. A new thing that he's just started doing is he'll walk you over to the table where his juice cup is. He'll stand you there. He'll reach over for his juice cup and give you his juice cup. And then he'll walk you to the sink to fill it up, which is kind of a new thing.
That is adorable. It sounds like a pain, but it also sounds super cute.
Yeah, and there's no miscommunication there. You know exactly what he wants. Okay, cup, water, got it.
I love it.
So it's his way of doing things. Yeah, it's not really a pain. It's kind of like it's actually quite good because like before, like how did we know he wanted juice? Like we just kind of guess. Or we've got him in such a routine that we make juice at a certain time. But obviously for that time, it didn't really suit him because he wanted more. So it's eye contact is the big thing. And with me and Rachel, he makes the eye contact a lot. For Cooper gets pushed away a lot because because they're so similar in age, there's only like 18 months between them. So because they're so similar in age, like Cooper's like, oh, I'm your brother, and like I want a hug and I want this, and Carter wants none of it. Carter's like, oof. But now and again, Carter will reciprocate and give him a hug. But it kind of has to be forced, but he will give in sometimes.
Poor little Cooper. He's like, I just want you to love me.
There's no poor little Cooper anywhere. That boy, pain in the butt. It's weird because we've obviously had 2 autistic kids. Actually, Cooper's the most difficult to kind of manage because we're not used to having a kid that's not autistic. So there's been its own challenges.
Super sassy little thing because you're like, where did this come from?
You're like, whoa, you're communicating a lot and very much at a different level.
Oh yeah, he doesn't stop talking from the moment he wakes up to the morning when he goes to sleep.
That sounds like me when I was young. Yep, I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why that's why we're at a podcast, is because I talk too much. So how did you and your wife find like strength during this time of need for your family and with everything that's going on?
Yeah, I think my wife always says, like, you just kind of deal with it. You just get on with it. You worry about other stuff later on.
Mhm.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Deal with what you've got in front of you. And so, yeah, I think between me and her, we kind of made a plan, and we would, like, she was going to stay at the hospital that night. I was going to go back home, stay with the two boys. The kind of emergency part of the whole thing was kind of done, and you just kind of get on with it. I mean, emotionally, I, from as a man, we bottle up. So I probably haven't dealt with it emotionally yet myself. But I know that's probably going to hit me at some point. But for her, like, it has been difficult because she's a stay-at-home mom and she lives with the boys, and certainly through COVID when there was lockdowns and everything else, she was at home alone with them like for 6 months. So like you get close to your kids anyway because
Mhm.
you see them every day, but when you see them like for 24 hours a day for 6 months, you see a lot of them. So she's managed to, I think moving it actually is, like you said before, it's been a bit of a blessing in disguise because it gave us distraction away from it. So that I think that's probably helped. And then, everything that kind of goes along with moving, kind of unpacking and all that kind of stuff as well.
Mhm. And the craziness of having the three boys, and just because one issue's going on doesn't mean there isn't a lot of corralling and trying to get everything set up and ready.
Yeah,
A
that's it.
lot of
Then you've got to get them
distractions
all.
with three boys.
Oh, I bet. I get enough distractions
Definitely.
with one, let alone I can't imagine three.
Hmm.
That's definitely busy in this household.
So is there anything else you want to share with us or our listeners?
No, I think it was really kind of when all this kind of happened, and I was in a clubhouse room, and someone said, "Oh man, you should really kind of," and obviously went into as much detail as I went into just now, but they kind of said, "Oh, you should really kind of go tell that story somewhere." And that's when I kind of thought of you guys, because the way they had phrased it, it's like, that's like some really kind of serious shit that you've been through. You should really
Yeah.
go and, like, you should go tell that story. And obviously, with the name of your podcast, kind of like, yeah, I know some people, so and that's
And
why I
we're so
reached out.
and we're some pretty great people. And we already had a cancellation, so it was perfect timing.
Yeah, and we're honored that you, of course, thought of us and remembered us. So, of course, we appreciate that too.
Our honored first returning guest. We'll have to title that the the
The
episode
returning,
title. Yeah, the returning James Scott.
return of the Scot.
I like that even better.
Yeah, I do too. Return of the Scott. It's perfect.
I love Star Wars. So I guess this will end this episode, and this is how to deal when shit gets real. So don't forget to reach out to us if you want to come onto the podcast. First of all, don't forget to listen to us every Friday and rate and review, of course. And follow us on all of the social medias, and we'll see you all next episode.